Hi, everybody. My name is Susan Brown. I am with CAMEO, VP of Capacity Building and Training, and will be the main trainer presenter today, but there'll be a few other people I'd like to introduce. So I'm going to start sharing my screen at the moment because we do have a slide presentation for information for you today. Okay, so welcome to our first of, we believe it's going to be a series of trainings on the California Rebuilding Fund for focus mostly on supporting our TA providers with this program. So as I said, I'm Susan Brown, working for CAMEO, and we also have with us today Carolina Martinez, who is our CEO, who's going to make some opening remarks. Emily Gasner, who's VP of Strategic Initiatives, will be staffing the chat room. Emily is a very experienced CDFI lender, and if you have questions, since we have such a large group, we're going to keep everybody muted, and if you could please type your questions in the chat, Emily will be on it and helping you. Heidi Pickman, who spoke for a few minutes at the beginning, is our VP of Programs, and she's also available to assist with chat. And I didn't put his picture up here, but Dan Moray is here from Connect to Capital, which is the main platform through which this whole program is being managed, and he could answer any technical questions that come up if we need him. So thanks for joining us, Dan. He's on Central Time, and this is in the middle of dinner time and bedtime for his little ones. So I appreciate you coming, Dan. All right, so Carolina, do you want to unmute yourself and make whatever opening remarks you'd like to make?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. We are really excited to be able to share with you more and more updates about this program. Many of you probably joined us for the first webinar we put together a couple weeks ago about the California Rebuilding Fund. And as we said then, we are really thrilled to be able to partner with such a great group of organizations that are coming together to support the small businesses in California during these trying times. We've talked a lot about how the CDFIs need more liquidity and are the ones that are really working on the ground with the small businesses and know what their challenges are. And also we know that our network through our technical assistance providers is a vital part of supporting these businesses to continue on operations, to shift their business model, and to really get going with a new reality as we see post COVID-19. So what we've been doing, the group has been really working a lot into finalizing a lot of details. Even though we don't have yet a launching date, we know it's going to be very close and very soon. So we're hoping that it's going to be in the within the next week or so that the fund is going to be launching. So we all need to be on the same page right now, and to keep updated about any changes of this program would be helpful. As we mentioned the last time, and I want to reiterate today, the technical assistance providers in all of our network is very important for us for the success of this fund, as we all know that it's not only capital what the small businesses need, right? We need all the technical assistants and all the consultants and advisors to come together and really support these businesses as they apply for the fund, but also as they think about their business. So we're really happy to be able to have you here and to provide some information. And as Susan mentioned, this is not going to be the last one or the first one. We're really going to continue providing this as a series as we find more information about the product, as we get more feedback from the CDFIs to support the businesses, and as we're seeing the development of this product, and we can all support any improvements that we see are needed. So with that, I just want to really go down to business, which is, I think, what you all want. But I really wanted to just welcome you all today and thank you for being here and for your interest in learning more about this product. And please keep in mind, we're really here to support you. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to gather them and provide as many answers as we can as we go. The last thing I would say is, even though we do have a lot more definitive answers today, the product has not been launched yet. So there is still a few things that might change in the next few days, but we are pretty confident that what we are talking right now might be what is the definitive product. And we're definitely going to continue updating you, but just so you know, some things might change in the next few days. If that's the case, we definitely will keep you updated about it. So without any further ado, I'll just turn it over to you, Susan, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Okay, here we go. Let me get going with our presentation. So the agenda today is, first of all, there's far too many people on this call for everyone to introduce themselves out loud, which is normally what we like to do. So if you could put your name, organization, and title into chat room, it would help us just know who's here and help other people maybe get a sense of who's in the room. So please go ahead and do that now as I'm introducing the agenda. Then I am going to give you some overview information about the California Rebuilding Fund, who the participating CDFIs are. We're going to review the eligibility requirements and application questions. And then we really want to spend a lot of your time today collecting your questions for future training topics. And then lastly, I have some information about some upcoming CAMEO events that we'd like to share with you. So here's some just overview slides on how the program is set up. So this is how the funding flows. So if you kind of want to know where the money is coming from and how does it get to the small business owners, that there have been a group of investors and grants and various types of funding sources in this first column that have come together and created the Rebuilding Fund and sort of pooled their capital here. And the process is going to distribute the capital through the participating CDFIs, who will in turn lend it directly out to the businesses in the communities throughout California. The kind of application underwriting process includes these steps where there's a pre-application process, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time today, is really talking about that pre-application process. Like, what does it look like to get people their foot in the door? And I put in the website right there where all the action is happening. The website is not completely built yet, but there's going to be a lot of information in there. I'll share some of that with you today. But before the fund launches, it will be fully developed, and all the information, a lot of information is going to be on that website. So once somebody applies when the program is launched at the pre-application process, that the Connect to Capital website will match borrowers with participating CDFIs. It also will identify if someone isn't qualified by the basic eligibility requirements. And then what happens is the CDFIs that are participating, and CDFIs, for those who maybe don't know, are community lenders who are lending to small businesses. They will work with the business owner to finish the underwriting process. Once a loan is underwritten, the CDFI will send it, in most cases, to a state guarantee loan program that's provided by the iBank at the state level, and get a guarantee on it. You don't really need to know or understand all these percentages in these last two columns, but just so you know that the process has allowed CDFIs a lot of liquidity, because the fund will reimburse them for a large percentage of the loan they make to the borrowers, which means they get their money back and can in turn do more lending right away. So this is going to really ramp up the volume of lending. And then the CDFI will maintain the relationship with the borrower. So if you're a TA provider, you don't really need to fully understand, I think, exactly how the money is working and, you know, what percentages are and, you know, who's buying what from whom and all that. But just know that the fund is making it much more liquid for the CDFIs to do a lot more lending, because they only need about 5 or 10 cents on the dollar, basically, in order to keep making loans. and that they have a guarantee. And so there's a lot of things built in here to make a lot of loans quickly and easily and in more fluid fashion than normally might happen. So once your borrower's in the system, this is the process that will happen is that, again, they fill out the pre-application at the CaliforniaLoanFund.org site. And when they get matched to a CDFI, the CDFI will reach out to the applicant for more information. So the application, the pre-application itself doesn't ask, it asks some questions, which I'll show you later, but it doesn't ask you to do like what you might call a full package. It just gets some basic information and some basic eligibility out of the way to make sure you're qualified, and then matches the borrower to a potential lender. And the lender then in turn asks usually for more documentation to do a full underwriting of the loan request. So that's where this comes in. There's application with financial records and bank statements and things like that. I can go over what some of the requirements will be with you in a little bit. The CDFI will be able to underwrite in a streamlined process because this is pretty straightforward what qualifies and what doesn't on what terms. And like I said, there's a lot of guarantees and other things in the system that allows the CDFIs to work quickly and confidently. And the CDFI reviews it, gets its state guarantee, and once that's all done, after a few steps, the borrower then receives the loan, and again, the CDFI maintains the relationship with the borrower. Technical assistance can be provided at any point in this process. Some CDFIs do quite a bit of technical assistance on their own, some do very little, and I'll show you in a bit that the website, this CaliforniaLoanFund.org, has built in some links to a whole, a lot of networks of TA organizations throughout the state and TA services throughout the state, so that if a borrower is struggling, they should be able to find somebody in their area to work with. I'm going to keep going here, but I think if something comes up in chat that really needs to be addressed, I hope one of Emily or Heidi or somebody can just interrupt me and go ahead and ask the question.
We will.
Okay, great, thanks. So here are the participating CDFIs. So there are, that's about 12. I have to sit here and count. 3 Core, which is based in Chico and serves, I believe, 3 counties. Access Plus Capital based in Fresno. Axion serving Southern California is based in San Diego, but serves most of Southern California. CDC Small Business Finance, I believe, is statewide, and we'll go over this in just a minute. Main Street Launch is in the Bay Area, and I believe serves the Bay Area. Meta, Fondo Andalante, I think serves the Bay Area. The National Asian American Coalition is, I believe, a statewide organization focusing on Asian American communities. Opportunity Fund is statewide. PACE, I believe, is focused on LA, but we can check that. Pacific Community Ventures is based in the Bay Area, and I don't remember their footprint, but we can look at that. And Working Solutions is in the Bay Area.
Yeah, just to tag onto that, Susan, PCV is statewide, Working Solutions is in the Bay Area, and there's one more participating CDFI that's been a late addition, and it's ICA. So if you guys are familiar with ICA in the Bay Area, so.
And is there footprint statewide?
No, they're in the Bay Area. I think they're are there 9 counties in the Bay Area? My California geography is a little rusty, so they're a Bay Area lender.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dan. That was Dan. And Dan, I pronounced your last name kind of the French way. Moret?
It's Dutch, not French, so we say Moret, but no worries.
Okay. Okay, Dan Moret. He is the kind of guru behind the whole Connected Capital platform. So thank you very much, Dan, for that clarification. So Heidi, I believe, is going to put into chat a document, which I think I can share here on my screen as well, but it shows the coverage of across the state by these CDFIs. So while we're sitting here for a minute on this slide, perhaps you can look at that and then make sure that your target market, the area you serve, is covered by at least one of these CDFIs. Dan and the other leaders of this project made sure that every county had a representative, but you might want to just go and double check and see who's serving you. And CAMEO is curious about whether you have a working relationship with that CDFI or CDFIs that are serving your communities. And would you like introductions, or do you need an introduction to the CDFIs serving your region? And that would be really interesting if you could share it in chat. If that is something you need, because part of what we see our role as is making sure that the technical assistance providers have information that they need about this program, and to some extent have a connection to the CDFIs serving their regions, so that as questions or problems arise, you guys can work together as a team and hopefully serve the borrower better that way. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute here and just kind of see, were people able to open that document, or should I share it on my screen? I can't fit it all on my screen. I can do it in 2 halves.
But it might be good for you to share it at least
Okay,
a little bit.
I'll share it. Let me share it.
Susan, we've got people chiming in on some introductions, so we'll make sure to capture these from the chat, and we'll set up meetings for you all.
Yeah, please start typing that in. Can you see the, do I have to stop sharing again? Can you see the spreadsheet or not? Which
Yeah,
It's
we
kind
can
of
see it.
small.
We see
But-
it, but it's, yeah, it's a little bit small on your screen.
Yeah, I can make it bigger. Let's see. But then you don't get a lot of counties. I
Yeah,
think
then you lose the scale. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of you are going to have to open this document because California is so huge. I think there's 58 counties in California. So as you see, this document goes on and on. And here are all the, we don't have ICA on here, but we can get an update, Dan, from you perhaps, or you or Beth, and provide that to everybody with the
Yeah, they're in the Bay Area counties. And one of the things that the fund has really focused on is making sure that at least one lender is serving all corners of the state. And so we have 3, maybe 4, I believe, statewide lenders. I'm forgetting at the moment, but the opportunity will be there for small businesses across the state of California to match with a lender that would be a fit for them under the eligibility guidelines for the program. So we've worked really hard to make sure that we have a broad base of lending support.
Yes, and just given the way California is laid out, it's possible to be serving, like where I live, the far north, and have the CDFIs that are serving you in the Bay Area or even LA or San Diego, and you may have never really connected with them and had a relationship or conversation or meetings with them. So if that's something that you would like help with, we would like to know, and it looks like people are putting it into chat. So that the more I think that relationship is developed and you understand and know each other, probably the better you'll be able to serve your borrowers, not only with this program, but on into the future. So let me just see any other burning questions up to this point that I need to address, or should I keep going? Emily, how's the chat?
I'm not seeing any burning questions unless anyone has any.
Good. I'll just keep going then, and thanks for the clarifications, Dan. I appreciate it. Okay, just a minute. I think I have to change my screen here. Zoom has a few little, okay. So what we see as roles for the TA providers is to undertake a rough or partial initial, partial initial assessment vis-a-vis the eligibility requirements we go through today. Certainly you are not responsible for underwriting or even necessarily determining exactly whether a borrower who shows up in your office meets all the eligibility requirements. But I think I was a TA provider for many years, and I know the frustration that borrowers can feel, and sometimes staff feels, referring people to programs that it turns out they're not eligible for. So one of the things I'm really dedicated to, and CAMEO is dedicated to, is making sure TA providers have enough information so that you can make quality referrals and help people apply successfully. And if you come across somebody who really isn't hitting the bells on enough eligibility requirements to get through the process, that maybe you work with them first and spare them and yourself any frustration. So that's kind of what we're shooting for here, is to help everybody not apply for something and get their hopes up and then find out very quickly that they're not eligible, because that's disappointing. Certainly supporting the application process. While the initial application process I think is very simple, all the borrowers will have to be underwritten by the CDFIs. And so that can be a daunting experience for borrowers who've never applied for loans, who don't quite have all their financial documents together and things like that. So certainly supporting people through the application process is a big role. There will be declined applicants, and one of the suggestions we're going to make at the end of this training is to maybe provide a training to TA providers if they're interested on how to work with the client applicants to improve the aspects of their application that made them ineligible, so that they can maybe try again and this time make it through. And then, of course, as we just said on the last slide, liaise with the CDFIs. There may be times when you have to work in tandem to help a borrower get through the process. Because often collecting documents is one of the hardest things or the biggest barriers, or takes the longest time for these microloans to get to the point where they can be underwritten. So you might play a really key role in helping to pull up the supporting documents together with a borrower.
And Susan, if I could chime in as well about the liaising with the CDFIs. One of the other things that we have found a lot of value in is, at least so we have launched a very similar program in New York called the New York Forward Loan Fund. And one of the issues that we ran up against in that fund was applicants forgetting which CDFI they matched to, and then not being on the lookout for the email coming from that organization when their turn came up in the queue. So helping your applicants realize that it's not going to be anybody at the California Loan Fund responding to them. It will be CDFI participant A, B, or C, whichever one they chose to match with, reaching out. And so look for emails from Actione or from Working Solutions or from NAAC or from Opportunity Fund, not from the California Loan Fund. So that's just another helpful thing, that there's sort of a passing of the baton.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say, because you said in New York there's only 4 CDFIs participating, and here we have 12 or something.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, a lot of CDFIs to track. So I thank you for bringing that up. Certainly, borrowers are completely, as they should be, in my opinion, oblivious to this whole CDFI network thing. In a certain way, they shouldn't be the ones who have to educate themselves about the whole network. So the more you can help them with that, the better. And you know, they're probably looking for something that just says, "Where's my loan?" kind of thing. Okay. So on the website, it's not fully built out yet. And I don't know, Dan, do you have you probably don't know when that website will be fully built out?
The lawyers are taking one last final crack at it. It should be up in the next few days, but
Okay.
it will. So the current caloanfund.org will be replaced by a much more robust and sort of information forward site that our team is building.
Yeah. So if you go there now, there's something there, but it's not fully, it's definitely not fully fleshed out. But these, I just wanted to let you know that there's going to be these 5 referrals resources on the website for technical assistance to borrowers who want to reach out and get some help. CAMEO's link will lead them directly to our member list, where they can sort for a TA provider in their area. And then the other links go to, actually, I haven't checked all these links. Are they going to go to, does anyone know, are they going to go to like the SBDCs? Did they get a list of California SBDCs? Where would the link take them? Do you know?
Yes, actually, all of
Carolina.
this is going to be to the California SBDC. It will be able to connect them with what SBDC is closest by region, and the same way with the California WBCs, they have the 14 WBCs. So what we are trying to do with this 5 websites available in the website really is to make sure that we provide as many resources for the small businesses as possible, since we're not able to put every single one of our resource partners. So this was the way we found to be kind of easier to consolidate, but it is important to tell the clients, like, please do look for the resource partner that is closest to you, or that provides the services you're looking for. Businessadvising.org is a mentorship website, so it has the opportunity to connect directly with mentors. Venturize has a lot of the resource partners, and obviously our website is going to direct them directly to the landing page of our membership page, where all our members are going to be listed.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so as I'm going to launch into the eligibility criteria right now, and please start typing into chat if I mention one that you go, boy, if I had to sit down with a potential borrower, I'm not sure how I would lead them through that kind of, I don't know how to assess that with a borrower. So please say, boy, raise your hand, type it out in chat. I'd like a a training on blah, 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 and type it out. And just so you know, we've just anticipated, even though we're not sure of the content yet, we will have another training on November 10th, excuse me, November 12th at 10 a.m. to take whatever shows up in
2
chat
p.m.
as, sorry. Oh, is it 2? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, wrong time.
It's okay.
Type that into chat. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me jump into the eligibility requirements. This actually doesn't quite happen at the beginning, but I just thought I wanted to be kind of complete here. At some point in the process, your borrower is going to have to attest, which means they kind of sign a document that swears that they have not applied for another California Rebuilding Loan Fund, that they have experienced some kind of economic hardship due to COVID and can document it, that they've been operating their business since June 30th, 2019. So yes, this is not for startups. This is for people who were operating for at least about, 15 months now.
Susan, I have a question.
Sure.
Are they, you say and can document, are they likely once, if they're matched with a lender, going to have to show their documentations?
Yes, and I'll get to that, Heidi. They are going to have to show that once they're matched, but not at the pre-application stage, but once they're matched, they'll have to use either bank statements, tax returns, profit and loss statements. There's a lot of ways maybe they could document their hardship. So, business size has to have fewer than 50 full-time equivalent employees and gross revenues of less than $2.5 million. So we are looking at small businesses here.
And Susan, as long as you were going with the California Loan Fund attestation, can someone with a PPP recipient be eligible?
Yes, I believe so. The PPP and the EIDL loans, I don't think disqualify anybody from applying to the California Rebuilding Fund loan.
And for that matter, I guess we should ask for any other loan, right? I mean, if they've gotten some other loan from, I don't know, one of the members, just.
No, I think that's fine. And I think they just have not applied for another California Rebuilding Fund loan. I think that's it. So there's a profitability test requirement that they can demonstrate a 25% decline in revenue since January of 2020. And that's one of the main ways, either having to lay off employees or having a revenue decline, I think are the main ways you can show COVID impact. Okay, again, this isn't for startups, and it's also not for businesses that were struggling in 2019. So they do have to have positive net income in 2019. When I talk about this loan fund or this loan product, I think it's for people who were relatively successful up until COVID and that they were running their business in 2019. So there's other kinds of needs out there, and we understand that right now, but this is what this loan fund is serving. This is a niche that it's decided to step in and help. And in 2020 has been able to sustain about 30% of pre-crisis revenues. So that means, in other words, their sales in 2020 can't have gone to zero or less than 30% of 2019 revenues, that they're still hanging on. Because if they'd had zero revenues this year, it would sort of mean that maybe COVID's going to take them out. So we want to see that they're keeping going even if they're struggling, but there's some kind of revenue still happening this year during COVID. There's a debt requirement, a sort of maximum debt requirement, and this is one that I think might be a training topic, and if it is, please write it into chat. They have to have monthly business debt service divided by business revenues of less than 25%, where revenues refer to average monthly sales of 2019. So one way to think about this is if their monthly debt service is $25, they have to show business revenues of like $100, right? So their debt can't be more than 25% of their revenues. So that may be something that it's like, boy, I'm not sure how I'd calculate that with somebody. We could have a conversation, we could have a training about that, where maybe you could help. If you think you're looking at somebody who's just really gotten buried in debt, maybe this is again, a back of the envelope calculation you want to make before sending them to this loan product. So there are credit report requirements or stipulations too, and every owner with more than a 20% ownership will have to have their credit pulled and examined for this loan product. And so here's the criteria: that there are no active bankruptcies, no delinquencies in January or February of 2020, in other words, pre-COVID. They didn't have a problem right in the beginning of 2020. No more than one 60-day plus day delinquency and no charge-offs. So another way to say this, in other words, they can't be very behind on their current debt. Maybe they're 60 days or less behind on one thing, but they're not like showing 4, 5, 6 credit cards that are all behind or something like that, or they've stopped paying altogether a bunch of different debts.
Ridiculous.
Was there a question? Okay. And again, that might be something that was worth a training, because there's a way you can look at a credit report if you want, can do a soft pull with a client and kind of look through their trade lines and find out what the status is of all their trade lines. No repossessions or foreclosures in the past 36 months. No tax liens or judgments. They can't owe back taxes. They can't have unpaid child support. And there is no minimum credit. There's no minimum FICO or Vantage score required. The credit score preferences are set by each CDFI. Some CDFIs have a minimum credit score, some have not. So that is, there's, you know, we're respecting the autonomy of all the CDFIs to apply their own credit standards on this score.
Susan,
Yes.
you have a couple of questions on the debt thing in chat. Do you
Okay.
want me to read them, or
Sure.
you want to go
On this debt one right here, do you think, Heidi, is on this one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you referring to business debt only, or would it include personal debt like student loans?
Well, the eligibility requirements say business debt and business revenues.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my understanding. You know, it does not mention personal debt or household income, other sources of income. When I teach microlending essentials, we do a global cash analysis, which means we look at both business and personal. But when I read the eligibility requirements, I saw just business debt service and business revenue.
So we'll keep an eye on that and make sure if something changes.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then
think Dan had to drop off. He may or may not be able to answer that one.
he's here.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm gonna have to leave pretty quick, but I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
So we could ask that. And then
and just so you know, Heidi, I think that Emily and I had a conversation about this this morning and said this is actually a pretty high standard, that there's no personal income in this calculation, because often that is how microloans qualify. So it sort of seems that the businesses have to be a little stronger maybe than typically for this product, but it's a little hard for me to assess. This is an unusual debt requirement that neither Emily or I are familiar with.
And then the other question is mortgage debt count in that calculation for DTI, or is it strictly financing equipment loans?
Well, if it's a business building, I would say it might count unless it's owned personally. So that is very interesting, because sometimes business owners own the building personally and rent it back to the business. So, you know, we would have to dig into this with the, I'd have to ask more questions myself about that.
Good. We'll get those answered and make sure that we can provide you with the results.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll keep going here.
Susan, we have a question as to whether borrowers will need to be reported to credit bureaus, commercial or consumer.
I don't think so. I think that came up. Do you remember, Emily? Wasn't that discussed at one of the meetings? Emily and Carolina have been going to all the meetings with me, so I'm counting on their memories too. I thought that they said they weren't reporting these, but I don't, unless one of you can confirm it, we'll have to double check on that.
And I feel like it would be up to the lender in terms of what they would normally, their normal procedure, which is typically to report to the credit bureaus related to personal information, but we'll get more detail on that.
Yes, so thank you. Just keep covering the questions here. We'll dig down into the details. So ineligible industries, activities prohibited by federal law. We're here in California. That probably means cannabis, no cannabis industries. Speculative activities, gambling and lobbying. So the kind of sin industries are out. So here are the pre-application questions. So there are no documents required at this stage, which is quite nice. So I think this is most of the questions in some form or another. How much do you want to borrow and how will you use it? What type of business, like industry, are you in and what's your location? Please give us your contact information. Your 2019 total revenue and net profit. Actually, the question is, were you profitable? I believe in 2019 is the question, but it probably would help to know what the net profit was. Number of employees that you currently have, estimated 2020 revenues. Do you have a business plan? Are you a veteran woman, person of color, or part of the LGBTQ community? And what is your, what do you understand your personal credit score to be?
And
So
I'm going to
what-
have to jump here because bedtime is happening. So I've got two little ones that I need to, but I just wanted to highlight for this one, there's no soft pull in Connected Capital when they report their credit score. So it's all self-reported. And the other thing about sources and not sources and uses, but uses of proceeds, one thing they can't do is repay an existing lender loan. And so if they have a loan with Working Solutions, they can't use this loan to repay that Working Solutions loan. And so that's just the last thing that we wanted to highlight in terms of ability for folks to use the loan proceeds. But other than that, yeah, the Connected Capital questions are translated into multiple languages. We've gotten feedback from all the CDFIs that are working with their borrowers, and so most of the languages spoken across California are supported if the browser that they are using is translating it automatically. And so that's the important part, is that they're in Google Chrome, in Microsoft Edge, and the other ones, if you have your browser settings to Filipino or Chinese or Spanish or any of the other languages that we are supporting, that's how the automatic translation happens. So just wanted to flag that for folks, as the pre-application is supported in multiple languages. And then I believe there will be something on the caloanfund.org directing applicants to choose which languages are supported throughout the application application process. So if they have language requirements, they can check in to see which language is supported by which lender, and then try to choose to match with that lender.
Yes, because the CDFIs have different language capabilities on their staff, and that's all been reported, I think, and is part of the system. Okay, thank you, Dan. That's fantastic.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your night, and I will catch all the questions that I miss at a later date.
Good luck with bedtime.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Okay, so again, it's up to the CDFIs. Once the application is in and they get matched with a CDFI, it is up to the CDFI to do their usual process. So we can't tell you exactly what will be required by a CDFI, but these are typical things that are required by lenders. Federal tax returns, bank statements, or internally generated financial statements. Some people on the calls that we've been on have said they like to see bank statements or tax returns from last year, but they'd love to see year-to-date documents, especially if someone's applying this late in the year in 2020. They'd love to see a year-to-date P&L or something like that, so they can really get a sense of what's been happening in 2020. A schedule of ownership, so that just has to do with who owns the business. Brief description of COVID-19 impacts on jobs and revenues, evidence of legal formation, and authorization for a credit pull. And I think you should assume that most CFIs will do what Dan referred to as a soft pull versus hard. Hard pull is what a lender usually does to get the full credit report, and I think that's likely in most cases. So there are closing documents if your borrower is approved for a loan. Now, these are handled by the CDFI. So if you're a TA provider on this call, you don't have to know this, but just so if you can pass this information on to your borrower, like what's involved with closing, there will be some kind of loan agreement, promissory note that they'll sign. The commitment for the state guarantee program actually is something that the CDFI gets and turns in along with the loan. It's not something the borrower signs. Evidence of legal formation, certified schedule of beneficial ownership, which I looked that up. I think it's a standard thing that's been required for a while by lenders in order to attest to certain veracity of what's in the information. Borrowers will sign a personal guarantee, and what that means is they are signing a document that says that, well, what's below that is the UCC filing. So what a UCC filing is a document that the CDFI files with the state of California that they call it a blanket filing on all business assets. So what it means is equipment, inventory, vehicles, things like that are covered by the UCC filing as potential collateral and potentially could be collected if the borrower defaults. In addition to that, the borrower is pledging their personal assets to back the loan. And then there's the borrower attestation, which it just says things like, I haven't applied for another loan, I did have impact by COVID, everything in this application is true. Those kinds of attestations are going to be in a certificate that they sign. And some CDFIs might have other types of documents they want you to sign, but these are kind of some typical ones and required by the program. So as Dan said, the
No vas a dormir, muchacha.
oh, hi, I think somebody's not muted. Thank you. These are some of the frequently asked questions that are going to be on the site once it's built out. And this is only a sample of what, because there's more questions than I could fit on a slide, but how much funding is available? What if I need help completing my small business loan application? How soon can I get my money once my loan is approved? What my monthly payments look like? Who makes the credit decisions? They're the languages that are supported: English, Spanish, French, Russian, Chinese, and Korean. What if I own more than one business? Can I apply for a loan from each of my businesses? What happens if I miss a payment? And many, many more. I think they did a really nice job on the frequently asked questions. So that's going to be built out any day now, and just keep looking back at that website and you'll see all that information that I think will be very helpful to review with your borrowers and your clients. So that's most of the information. I have a few more informational slides after this, but I'm going to stop sharing here in a minute and see if there's some questions we can answer today.
Susan, there are some questions, a couple questions. One is...
Okay, let me just finish this slide.
Oh, go ahead.
And then we'll do it. Okay.
Okay.
So just so you know, here were some of our ideas for training that we could, I didn't review the actual loan product because I thought this might take a lot of time just today, but we can go over the loan product, how much, the rates, the terms, uses, so on and so forth. If you want, Dan, I think could come back and do a live demo of the application for us, and that might be useful for you to just see the screens going through an application. Calculating revenue from tax statements, P&L, and bank statements, that might be helpful since there's a number of revenue and profitability requirements. Reading a credit report for the eligibility requirements for this application. Calculating that debt eligibility criteria that I talked about earlier, that might be useful. We also thought about having monthly check-ins with peer learning and training meetings. If that would be interesting for you, for us to just host some meetings as we go along, to check in with each other, we can field your questions, we can troubleshoot, we could form trainings. If that would be of use to you, it would be interesting to chat, type that into chat as well. So yeah, let me stop sharing and see if there's some other questions we can answer right now.
So Susan, go ahead, Heidi.
Just a quick question. I did a poll and I'm not sure who has polling. I just put those things in a poll. If you guys want to do the poll and we can kind of get
I do not have the poll.
Emily, do you, or I think Carolina might have it.
I have it. I just launched it.
Okay, great. That would probably be the easiest way to see. It looks like there's some comments, but be easier if you check all that you can. Hopefully it wasn't one or the other. I launched it really quickly.
Do you want to go ahead and check it, Heidi? Well, we'll answer a couple of questions. Maybe you can check it, or has it already been launched?
It's been launched.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check all that apply if you can. We hope it's all that you.
Yeah. You can only choose one.
I think it's an only choose one situation.
All right, we'll still get the most popular ones. Choose one, and we'll see where it lands.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We have 89 people on the call, so. So while they're answering, do you want to read me a question, Emily?
Sure. So we had a question. What is the loan term and the interest rate and loan amount?
Yeah, and we can cover that in the next one, but let me go ahead and just answer that quickly here. I've got the term sheet right here. So the loan amount, here's the interesting thing: lesser of 100,000 or up to 100% of the average revenues for a 3-month period prior to the COVID-19 outbreak. So I'll say that again. And we can go over this in a training. Lesser of 100,000 or up to 100% of an average revenues for a 3-month period prior to COVID-19. So that's the amount. It's a 60-month term. A 60-month term with 0 to 12 months of interest-only payments paid monthly, and 13 to 60 months with interest and principal payments, a flat payment on a 48-month schedule paid monthly. And the interest rate is 4.25% fixed interest based on Wall Street Journal Prime plus 1%.
And if it helps to know, there's no prepayment penalties. So even though it's a max 60-month term, if they want to pay it off in a year, that's totally fine. Nina has a question. How long is it expected that this particular loan product is going to be available?
I don't think anybody knows. They're still working on some of the capital sources. There's certainly money from the state, but there's some other money they're collecting. So unless Emily, you have an answer to that, I think we don't.
No, I don't. I haven't heard how long this is planning to last.
Determined based on the governor's decision. I asked that question with them.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nora.
Another question was, what was the time frame for this no 60-day delinquencies allowed? For example, if it's a delinquency from several years ago, does it count? And from what I saw, from what I understand, that time frame is March 1st, 2019 to February 29th, 2020.
Yep, that's right, Emily. Yep.
I have another question that someone chatted me. Will an equipment lease that is due to end within 6 months be taken out of debt service?
I don't know. I think that's going to be up to the CDFI.
I agree. And I'm ending polling as we're talking, and I can share results when we're ready.
Go ahead. I don't know. Can I see it? It's always a weird thing.
Wait, no, we can't see it.
Can somebody read it?
I'll read it. So the most asked for 35% is a live demo. 29% want some training around debt eligibility. And then 16% want to review the product. 10% want training around profitability. And then 6% around credit reports and 4% kind of peer learning. And we had about, I believe it was half of the participants on this Zoom answered the poll.
There's a bunch of chit chat that says a peer learning thing that would be good. So, and they want, can you share the rate again and the term on the chat room? Can we copy and paste that in? I think it's going to be on the FAQ when it launches on the website.
Yeah,
so
it will be.
So you'll have it kind of there for posterity.
And it's really important for everybody to know that between now and when the program launches, there could very well be some changes made. So it's not going to be necessarily set in stone, but we're assuming that most of this is how it's going to be. So that's why it will be really important to come back to future trainings and continue to check out the website and be involved so that you know, before it launches as well as after it launches, if any changes are made, that you're aware of them so that you can best provide TA to your clients.
I think there's enough. It looks like there's enough interest here that on a peer cohort that will probably launch a peer cohort model.
Great. And I see this question, estimated launch date. We don't know. It might be this week. It might be next week, fairly soon.
Ish.
I think when it launches, Heidi, you'll put out a little notice to everybody.
Yeah, we'll put out a notice. This is something the government, it's, you know, we think that'll get some fanfare. So,
yeah, we're hoping the governor might say something. So it could be a lot of action on this one. The governor makes an announcement. Okay, did everyone get a chance to write? I've got a couple more slides just with information. I'll do that real fast and then I'll stop sharing again and we can finish up if there's any final questions. I just wanted everyone to know that we have these upcoming CAMEO events. For coaching organizations, as I said, it looks like I got the time right.
Wait, Susan, I'm sorry.
Heidi?
Before we go on, I got so excited with the lunch date that we had a couple of our other. We had one more question.
Oh yeah, I was going to come back. I just wanted to do these slides and then I'll come back to the questions.
Oh, got it. Okay, sorry.
So for coaching organizations, we've already scheduled a second training on the 12th at 2. Did I get this one right, Heidi? It's at 2? The 12th at 2? Yeah. Okay. And for lenders, we are doing a managing lending risk in times of crisis on November 19th, where you can meet. There's 7 state guarantee programs. One thing we did realize is not all CDFIs in California understand or have worked with or have an active relationship with the state guarantee program. So that's an opportunity to learn about the state guarantee program and how it fits into managing risk if you're a lender. And for both, we have a few, literally maybe 2, 3, 4 slots left in the upcoming micro lending essentials. That's where you learn how to underwrite microloans, and it starts November. I forgot to put the start date in there, Heidi. Can you look it up for me?
10th.
November 10th. Thank you. It starts November 10th.
Don't put, if you're interested in that class, we're going to have you email Melissa, and she's taking.
Can you put her email in the chat room maybe?
Yeah, I think
Thank you. And then we do have, if you're in San Diego, we have a regional meeting tomorrow at 3. And if you could put that link in the chat room too.
Oh yeah, yeah, we'll put that link in.
So Heidi will put some links in the chat room. And then my last slide is just, please keep checking this CaliforniaLoanFund.org website. You can send your training requests to me if you didn't get them in chat, if there's something or something you think about after this meeting. Don't hesitate to reach out. So there I will stop sharing and see. You said there's another question or two. What else can we ask? What else can we answer for folks? Sorry, Heidi's multitasking, I think. She's putting things in chat and remembering the questions.
Stacy asks, different lenders will have different internal credit requirements and max loan amounts. Is it possible to see that in a matrix of sorts? And the answer is
no. Like, if I understand the question, she's wanting to know what each CDFI's requirements will be. Is that what she's asking? Can you read the question again?
Yeah, I think so. Different lenders will have different internal credit requirements and max loan amounts. Is it possible to see that in a matrix of sorts?
I don't think so, because we do need to respect the autonomy of the CDFIs, and also the system will match borrowers with CDFIs doing those loan amounts. So it's not going to match someone asking 100,000 with a CDFI that only goes up to 50,000. So the C2C, matchmaking system will make sure people are matched with CDFIs that do that type of loan at that amount. The underwriting criteria, I think it's really just up to the CDFIs, and we really don't know that information and really can't get involved with explaining or revealing everybody's individual underwriting criteria, because they're here acting on behalf of their own portfolios and in part on behalf of the program.
And however, though, for the TA providers that are, as you're building the relationship with the particular CDFI or the few that are serving your geographic area, you certainly can discuss that as part of the relationship with the CDFI and what they're looking for. And it's important for everybody to know that for some reason, if the business isn't quite a fit for this particular loan product, the CDFIs are still having other products that they're offering. This is just one of them, and it's one that they're really trying to streamline and really help related to COVID, and there's a lot of funding related to it. So just know that there's not just the eligibility and the underwriting criteria for all of the loans here. There's other products that you'll want to ask your CDFI directly about. Well, if somebody isn't a fit for this one, do you have something else that's more of like a credit builder loan for a startup, for example?
Yeah, exactly. There are CDFIs that lend to startups, even though they wouldn't qualify for this program. Other CDFIs might underwrite them.
For example, working solutions.
Right, with another pot of money and another program and loan product. So that's where I think that, know your CDFIs a little bit, like at least who does startups and what's their loan maximum amount and what are some of the basic documents they need. And if they do have a FICO minimum. I mean, there's some basic things once you get to know your CDFIs you could ask, and hopefully they'd be willing to tell you and would help you give them more qualified referrals. And again, none of us want to have a frustrated borrower, have somebody go through an unpleasant experience with a denial. So we want to try to screen people at least a little bit so that it's a positive experience all around.
So, there's a couple good training and ideas in a webinar panel of CDFIs, maybe to explain, like if they want to participate and explain what they could do. So we might be able to do it either by region or statewide, or, so we can look into that. And then CDFI's favorite urban area, what efforts are there being made to ensure opportunities in rural areas in the far north? And that's sort of where this introduction idea comes in, right, Nina? So,
and look at that spreadsheet that Heidi or somebody put in the chat room, because in this program, I think Stan said there's at least 4 CDFIs that are statewide. So there is no county that's not covered by those 4 statewide CDFIs.
So what we would do is make an introduction to those organizations for you if you need it.
Yeah,
and I
we
think
could have a rural statewide CDFI.
So
get together,
right,
or something.
Yeah, we love our get-togethers. And then the other thing, on the Kiva training on the Kiva site and uploading weekly, monthly reports, is that something?
That is something for lenders, and they should turn to the fund administrators for help with that. Like, contact Kiva directly.
Contact Kiva directly. Okay.
Yeah. At this point, unless Carolina says otherwise, we're not training the CDFIs, and we're not providing special trainings to the CDFIs on the program. That they're being supported by the fund directors.
That's a CDFI. Okay, so that's
But
good.
if there is, but I would add, like if the person asking is a CDFI that it needs of that support, please do let us know. We will be happy to share that with the fund, just to reinforce any training that needs to happen.
Yeah, there's some reporting for the CDFIs that looks, of course, CDFIs are used to reporting, but yeah, there's some specific reporting they have to do. So anything else? Are we good? We almost did this exactly in 1 hour. That's fantastic. We left an hour and a half in case there were a ton of questions, but we can get it done in an hour. That's good.
I don't see any other questions.
Is that Claudia Veek? Somehow it says Susan Brown. Why does it say Susan Brown? Claudia. Hi, Claudia. You need to change your name.
I'm your doppelganger. I know.
So. What happened?
Your Zoom today. Sorry.
Nice to see you, Claudia. Okay, well, if we're good, we'll get this. What's the process on getting the slide deck out to participants, Heidi?
Melissa is going to get things together and send, it'll take us a day, hopefully, to do that, with the slide deck, the recording. We've got your ideas for training, so we'll start to put those in motion. She'll send the links to all the other trainings, including November 12th will be one of these topics. So if not 2, depending on how we think the training would go. So there's Melissa popped them in anyway, but she popped them in again, but they'll also be in an email in case
you miss it. Okay.
Share and all that.
Well, thanks everyone. I hope this was helpful. And like I said, we hope to continue to support you all through this program, and some of the trainings we're imagining down the road will not only help you with borrowers with this product, but I think will help you just understand lending better and make better referrals. So we would encourage you to participate, just to become, having more facility and more relationships that lead to more access to capital for your clients. All right, I think we're good. So we'll close it there. And got a thumbs up from Claudia. Thank you, Claudia. Claudia, AKA Susan Brown right now. Hi, B. Borzak. Nice. Thank you for attending, B. I don't see too many. Most people didn't have their video's on, so I can't see you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
It's really fun to see some new faces too. So if this is your first contact with Cameo, welcome, and we're happy to connect.
Mhm.
Thanks, you guys.
All right.
Have a great night, everybody.
Oh wait, there's a
Bye-bye.
question. Somebody has a question.
Oh,
We're
question.
staying. If you've got more questions, we'll stay.
Dave,
My kids are grown. No more bedtime. Just me and my dog.
you have access to the other trainings automatically. No, you're going to have to register for each one individually. They will all be on our calendar, which I will put that in link into chat. So let's, if you want, keep talking and we'll make sure.
Yeah, sign up for the newsletter if you don't get it, and you'll get notifications. You will get notifications for all this stuff. We're on it with the whole notification thing.
Let me
Maybe
just
you should
type
say
this
Heidi's on it.
calendar. Yeah, exactly. You will get added to the newsletter, so you'll get all the coming training information. So make sure you add at cameonetwork.org to your safe senders list.
All right, everyone. Thanks again. I think we're good. We're done.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you, Cameo team. Appreciate the support.
Guess we can stop recording,
We
right?
can stop recording. Mm-hmm.